What's up, guys? This is Derrick Johnson, and I'm doing something a little different. I was in the middle of recording. As you see, I'm in the studio. I was in the middle of recording my podcast when I'm like, you know what? I haven't done a Derrick's Thoughts in a while. And every time I say Derrick's Thoughts, I think of thoughts, but THOT. Anywho, thoughts. I can't. That's all I hear. Point is, usually these are audio only. They're a little more toned down, a little bit more relaxed because, like I said before, I'm not really big into, high energy all the time. I'm pretty introverted, but I do have a lot of thoughts about markets. Like, if you know me, I love me a good market or two. And one of the things that, I can't really do, well, I shouldn't say I can't, I don't want to do on the Welfare Show is, really go in on my market opinions. And the reason being is the Welfare Show is a show for people who have no idea about finances. And, they want to hear definition. Hey, what does this mean? And, my job is to explain what does that mean. So think of a Investopedia type podcast where, the only thing we talk about is what do things mean, and how it can play a role in your financial life, things like that. So it's really more geared to that avenue versus a market opinion show. So Derrick's Thoughts is, I came up with, I'm like, hey, I can talk about the markets with this. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because I'm recording this Thursday, June 22nd. Did I say June? January 22nd, 2026. And one of the things that has been on my mind is, what's happening with the markets. And yeah, I'm adjusting this. Like I said, we're a little more relaxed around here on Derrick's Thoughts. So I can maneuver stuff. Oof. Yeah, that's better. I can maneuver stuff, do stuff at will. But yeah, and so what's happening in the markets that's, got me thinking I should do another one of these. And that's, what's the good word I'm looking for? The frothiness. I'm not a bear. That's a big thing that, I want to say. I think the markets is, they're going to go up. That's what they're made to do. They're made to appreciate. That's why people invest in them. That's why people invest other people's money into it. And so I'm not a bear whatsoever, but I am the type of person who's a little more realistic when it comes down to, the markets doing too much. You know what I mean? Like, you're doing a little too much. And I might be a little salty. I'm not gonna lie to you. I might be a little salty because, I've been trying to, I'm not necessarily in the markets at the moment. I was. But I started my firm and, it's not cheap. So a lot of my money went towards that. But I want to get back into the markets. The firm is doing good. We're doing, we're growing. And I want to start getting back into the market and build up my own personal portfolio and even building a portfolio for my firm for the income that we get. And it's like, I can't get in. I mean, technically you can, and don't get me wrong. This is my problem. I'm not saying, hey, guys, don't dollar cost average or anything like that. No, dollar cost average and all that stuff with me personally, because, I cut my teeth on trading and reading charts and all that stuff that I understand, I got to get the best price. And that's one of the things that kept me from jumping into the markets as a whole, because like these prices are outrageous. Like, I'm not gonna pay these premiums. And of course, I get it. People are like, well, you're paying for future multiples and all that stuff. Yeah. I probably am. But I know I can get a discount. And I feel like, and this is just me probably just, complaining. Like, when are we going to get a discount? I'm tired of looking at these high prices. I just want a discount. I get it. No one's saying let's have a, bear market. No one's saying let's drop 30%. No one's saying let's drop 20%. But can we get at least 15? At least for a day. I got limit orders. Every time we hit new highs, I have to readjust my limit orders. And it's like, when are we gonna catch a break? When are we gonna, jump in? When can I jump in? But yeah, so I'm looking at the markets, and today is the 22nd. The market's still on. It's like 12 p.m. And look like we're rebounding for the day, and rebounding hard on the futures. And so I'm looking at the NASDAQ futures. I'm looking at the S&P futures, and I'm also looking at the Russell futures. And me personally, I'm a big fan of small caps. Always have been, always will be, because I feel like small caps are extremely, extremely important when it comes down to the health of companies. Because, those are big companies are innovators, but a lot of those inventions, a lot of those, things, the things that they innovate comes from the minds of people who like to experiment. And small cap companies typically are experimentation type companies, where they're new, they're small, they're trying to break their way into the markets, and some of them probably been here around for a long time, but the ones that really make a name for themselves, so I like looking at small cap companies. That's a little secret there. But I'm not trying to invest in I was investing in index, but I ain't, unless the company is really, really good, they're just gonna get bought up. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, I'd rather, not just me personally, just my personal opinion. But point is, I'm looking at these numbers, the Russell hitting all-time highs again, and almost everything hitting all-time highs and stuff for the NASDAQ. Now I'm hoping, this is what I'm hoping, is that we get up to NASDAQ 26, I want to say 26.5. We get up to 26.5, and then the markets, or at least the NASDAQ does a correction. Because right now, we're 2%, like going on 2.5% off the highs. And it's just like, when are we going? And the lows we went this week was 5% off the highs. Like, that's not enough. And I'm not trying to come sit here and, sound like I'm complaining, but I kind of am. But I can definitely see that, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say it's artificially inflated. I just feel like the markets are inflated. I have a reason why I think that, and that reason I'm going to keep to myself. But, me personally, I feel like the markets is due for a nice correction. And looking on the index of the NDX and looking at 2025, the week of May 12th and the week of May 5th, there's a large gap, like a visible gap on a weekly chart. And I'm thinking if we were to correct, that would be ideal place to fill in at, but I just don't know. We just don't know. And so my thoughts are, I'm not trusting any rallies right now. We're not really rallying in the NASDAQ. We're going sideways, and the fact that tech is going sideways and the Russell is going to the moon, and the S&P 500 is also going sideways. The only thing that seems to be moving, the two indexes that seem to be really making some headway, is the Dow and the Russell. And so what could happen, and these are, so I watch this YouTuber called Heavy Spoiler because I love movies and TV shows. And so he does this thing called Theory Time. And this is my version of that, of Theory Time. So Theory Time, meaning it's not investment advice. I'm not saying this is going to happen or anything like that. Just a theory, hypothetical, ain't going to do what everyone think I'm going to do. We do hit that 50,000, that 50 on the Dow Jones. And once we hit that 50 on the Dow Jones, we might go to 50, maybe even 51, 5,500, somewhere around there. And that's where, we start letting off some steam, because it looks like the NASDAQ, and I could be totally wrong, this is why it's Theory Time, but it looks like the NASDAQ is losing steam. And the reason I say it's losing steam, because out of almost a couple of months now, it has not made a new high. The NDX I'm speaking about. And so from the last new high was October of last year for the NDX. And that's a long time while your other indexes are making new highs. And I think the SPX, could make another high. I've been making new highs for almost every week now, besides a couple of weeks. And like I said, the Dow and the Russell are making new highs even as we speak. And so, that's leading me to believe that, it's almost time. It's about that time. I'm not calling a top. That's one thing, I'm not saying, because for all we know, it can keep going and going. But I am thinking that we are going to see a correction, a deep correction, sometime in the next 2 quarters. And the reason I say the next 2 quarters is because, seasonality, that's usually around the time corrections happen, usually February, March, and then again in the fall. Those are the times that corrections may happen. I'm not saying corrections happen on those times, but if you look at history, that's one of the things that we do when we're studying the markets, look at history. Those are the likelihood months or times that we may see a correction. And I'm looking forward to that. And so this Derrick Thoughts, oh my goodness, this Derrick Thoughts is going to come out this week. On Friday, I'm going to put it out tomorrow. And let's see. And I hope I'm wrong, because that means, my clients are making more money. That means everyone else is making more money. But I think, I need to jump in this market. That's what I think, and that's what I want. So give me the opportunities, markets. I don't want nothing crash off of that happen. I like, that's another thing people be wishing for. Something like, no, I don't want no news to happen. I just want a textbook correction, because we've gotten too hot. That's it. I will even 15%. I'll prefer 18%. That's my preference. but I'll take 50% off the stock market. I'll take that any day. People back for Black Friday was taking 5% off TVs of $1,000 TV, and 5% were taken off, and people's going crazy. And so I'll go crazy too for 5%. It kind of almost did that this week, but I felt like I could go deeper. I had to watch some stuff. That's my shoes, by the way. Next week, I'm hoping that we get some good news, because like I said, I'm a positive person, but even if things don't align, I still just want a little steam to be let out. This crock pot getting hot. Or is that a pressure cooker? I don't know. Anywho, that's my thoughts. So I don't got no outro. I don't really got no intro. So, hey, thank you.